My presentation is on dismantling the system regarding racism. Some of the basic information regarding the webinar I attended is right here, with the title being called Racism, Dismantling the System. It was on Tuesday, February 22nd of 2022. The time was 3:30 that it started and ended at 5 p.m. And the organization's name was the LSU Riley Center for Media and Public Affairs. The purpose of the webinar was basically to raise awareness of the injustices and inequalities that people of color face on a day-to-day basis, whether it's job opportunities or just discrimination in general, and really kind of talked about the history of these events. But I would say they mainly focused on job opportunities and how these different types of events affect people of color. They also compared racism to the pandemic, which I thought was really eye opening, also stating that this has been an ongoing issue and it has impacted everyone globally to a degree. As far as what we can do in order to continue raising awareness, it helped us build skills and promote advocacy skills in how to dismantle racism within our employment while working with clients and other different examples. The events activities, mechanics. There was 5 well-known panelists brought up strong points in regards to the social issue on racism in the occupational field, as I mentioned before. Each panelist had their LMSW, and they really knew what they were talking about. So it was very eye-opening and interesting to hear each person's perspective. They spoke about the important matters that caused many of us that participated to really think about the topic and allowed silence, which I thought was helpful. Senses, basically, I felt comfortable being a part of this webinar, being that everybody was welcoming and everybody allowed that silence and that space for us to ask questions. I did feel nervous at times when the panelists would ask us to ask questions or basically like share our point of views. And that's only basically because I just always sometimes get or that didn't make sense, but I get sometimes nervous about saying the wrong thing and, not wanting to, offend anybody. But I understand it is a privilege to be educated on the matter rather than to experience the matter firsthand. And then other feelings I have sensed for myself and others was sadness and different emotions regarding the injustices. Environment, the webinar was very well diverse, which I thought was great. And it really kind of opened the platform for different perspectives, which was kind of like very well informed people who shared great information on the topic. I don't feel like there was any tension within this webinar. As I mentioned, everybody was very welcoming, and I think everybody kind of agreed on the topic. Self-reflection. I believe that this webinar was very informative and it did give many opportunities for participants to speak and voice their concerns and thoughts. I do see myself continuing to be a part of these webinars for the educational piece of it and to like continue bringing this information outside of these webinars and sharing with others what I learned and, the skills that I've built, to kind of help end the racism within our jobs, within our society, and things of that nature. I think it is also important to be aware of these issues when working in the field because it will help motivate us to advocate for individuals who face racism and find ways to obtain the justice for situations that are rooted by racism. I think it's also important as social workers to continue educating ourselves within this issue because throughout history it has been ongoing. And, unfortunately, it's still a thing and it's still going to be a thing until we continue to raise awareness and find ways to kind of dismantle it. We learn more and more so that we are able to stand next to each other, to stand next to others who are affected by racism. If I were to have a civil or, participate in a civil disobedience event, it would basically be a nonviolent approach where I would gather a few individuals who want to share their experience regarding racism and how it affected or impacted them. This approach